G'day, g'day. Ha, how about that? It works like a bought one. Not bad, not bad. Good now, everyone. This is Darrell as a service and my mate Daniel Glenn.
Hello.
And the 365 Message Center show today. Today, the title is all about usage analytics on Microsoft Teams. Some changes there. Let's check it out. Now,
Don't worry about it. It's coming back.
it'll happen. It's coming. Well, it's the show. It's the show. It's Monday, the 3rd of August there for you.
Correct.
All right. It has been an interesting week. Lots of changes. I feel like busting out and doing some kind of sort of TikTok moves and celebrating that. We might. Never mind. Some people might know what we're referring to. Microsoft's planned acquisition of Microsoft TikTok,
For
Microsoft
business.
Teams, to Talk Do. I don't know. Have you
Well,
come
it's
up with
going to
some
be
names?
first. Yes. So if you're following along with the show and you watched last week or past few weeks and you know about some renames, it's going to be first called TikTok for Business. And then it's going to be renamed to Teams TikTok. But then they're going to think, no, that's not right. So we're going to call it TikTok Pro. And then they're going, no, 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 we're going to rename it to Dynamics 365 TikTok Customer Voice in all caps. And then they're going to rename, oh, no, you don't
No,
like
it
that.
just sounds far too businessy. Microsoft Teams. That way you get that kind of mimic
Teens, I get
feel,
it.
right? Yeah, yeah. So that people think that they're typing and talking about Teams, but it's addressing the teen audience.
So I will say there's a whole lot of non-teens
Right.
in the service of TikTok. So, but
Yes.
I would say there's a lot of news about this and whether it's going to happen or not. It won't happen today or even this week. They're talking like the next month or so. Anyway,
Mm.
I actually think they won't rename it at all. I know it's a buzzkill and we were having fun joking, but I actually don't think they'll rename it at all.
Well, that's okay. I'm looking forward to seeing it in the message center when we can tell, what updates are coming and, yeah, make use of
Sure.
it. Yeah. Anyway, on with it. So, what's our first message? It's all yours, isn't it?
Yeah, so today's first message is SharePoint list and libraries improved image columns. This is MC219652. So this is a new column type that'll be available for lists and libraries, as the title lets you know. And talk about the release for a second. Targeted release August, beginning of August, so here soon, and then complete by mid-August. So it's rolling out pretty quickly. This is it's an improved handling of images for libraries and lists. It gives you access, and this is probably the part that I'm most excited about. On your mobile phone, it gives you access to your camera. So when you're going and you
Hmm.
want to upload an image to that column, you're able to take a picture with your mobile phone at that time. So I think it's a great improvement. It's kind of a simple improvement in that, hey, it's a column type, it's image, great. But I think this could have a lot of implications for things like preventive maintenance records, out at factory incident issues, support, uh, ordering. I mean, there could be a lot of if you think about, and I just thought about that, when you get a delivery from one of the delivery services, at least this is what happens here, oftentimes they'll take a picture of the package wherever they put
Hmm.
it, and you'll get that
Hmm.
in an email. Well, you could apply that to your business. And when if you're doing something and you need to take a picture of what you did and then upload it to a status list. I mean, so there's a lot of applications that can happen here. So I'm pretty excited about it. Again, this is kind of a simple update, but I think there's um, opportunity to build some really cool apps based on this.
Is this something that we've seen in Classic and it's now been modernized?
Um, Not really. This is in Classic, we could always attach an object to, a SharePoint list.
Hmm.
It's clunky and it was not a great way to do it at all. And I think there's been some ways we could attach image before, but this way, I think it's being native in an image in a column, being able to interact with it along with the rest of the data, I think is the way to go. So anyway, I think it's going to be a great update. And I believe that a lot of people are going to get good usage out of this.
Definitely, yeah. I'm sure with it being an image type that that's going to open up other possibilities too. We've seen some of our other special columns, such as location, which then was able to be used for GPS data and mapping and the like. There's all sorts of things you can do with images and image metadata even as you take a picture and you've got that in the background.
Right.
Great. Well, when's this coming?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, start of August, so here soon, mid-August, rollout complete. So we'll have it, everyone should have it within a couple of weeks, it looks like. It does not make a differentiation between government cloud or other special types of cloud. So, you can make assumptions here. We know what assuming does, but, the assumption I would make is that it's going to roll out to everybody, but to even government. But maybe not. They just don't specifically call it out. So
yeah. All right. Well, our next update is the title for the show. Updates to Teams usage report. This is a really long one. Updates to Teams usage reports in Microsoft Admin Center and the Teams Admin Center.
That was a
MC
mouthful.
219613. It was. We haven't seen a long one like that for a while. For a long while. Little wordy, but you could glance over this and go, okay, yeah, great. Well, what's this actually getting to? But the usage reports. A lot of people interact with usage reports from the Microsoft Admin Center, Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and that brings together usage in terms of email, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, in the past also. Skype for Business. It rolls all that up so that you can see just at a glance, is the service being used, and are we seeing some traffic, and are we seeing usual patterns. You have your 365 Analytics Power BI reports, which is something quite separate, but it's dipping into similar data, and that's used for user adoption and I guess to an extent seeing that the service is working, but more so about seeing how it is being used and making use of some of the Azure AD information to split that up. But it has seemed to be a little out of sync with another lesser known usage report or area for getting usage reports from the Teams Admin Center. Daniel, how often have you visited the Teams Admin Center?
Well, recently, a lot.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of updates here recently that you had to go to the admin center to interact with. I've also been developing some apps, and so you have to do that in there. So I've been in there quite a bit.
It's not an area that I've been in, at all, particularly at work, because I don't have the permissions to do so. Nudge, nudge. But in my own environments, I don't have much of a reason to go there either. There are some good uses in going there, like being able to trace the quality of a call or a meeting. If you get
do reports for live meetings that happened.
Yeah, definitely. But one area that is not often visited is your usage analytics, and look, I went in there and I thought, wow, this actually shows a whole lot of stuff that would be really useful for someone in user adoption and change management. The update. What is the update? The update is about bringing those two in sync so that you have the same information, the same accuracy of data, but also some of the recent capabilities that are being released to Microsoft Teams will also be measured from the user activity report. So if I can just quickly show you what we're looking at. I know that we're not going
Please
to see...
do.
Yep. Let's flick on over to here. Now, yes, you might look at this Webster Tech Corporation and go, wow, there's not a lot of activity going.
You need to work on your adoption, Darrell.
I know.
Using Teams.
No, that's right. Yeah. But we've gone into analytics reports and usage reports, and it's usually quite a bit of a ghost town before you run a report. You choose your report, you choose the date range, and you run it. But your team's user activity is what's getting a bit of a boost. Now, yeah, not great figures to look at, but you're going to see a few more columns along here representing different capabilities that have been released. And I've got to say, there's been some good work around roles for allowing people to access usage analytics within the Microsoft admin dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's the same kind of roles in here. You're a Teams admin or you're a global admin. And change managers, adoption specialists will want to see this information. Who is using certain features? Who is, even groups of locations, business units, who's using this stuff. So good to see this is on its way. Let's get back to our view of the message. So you're going to see more of that, some parity with the message across the data across both environments. It is rolling out end of August and expect complete by end of September.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I think we here are all about improving insights into usability or usage and what's going on within an environment. So anything that gives us better reports, easier to digest, I think is important.
I think that it's going to reveal, as a number of organizations have cut over during COVID to Microsoft Teams, they can boast these overview of these figures saying, look at all this massive adoption. Everyone's using chat and everyone's using this for meetings. Look a little deeper. And it's a report like this that's going to show a bit more about how it's been used and to what level. So don't just assume that job done, you've turned it on and everyone has to use it.
Yeah. And I'm going to throw a little bit of a loop for Darrell because I want to jump we're talking about usage analytics and usage data. So I'm going to cover the next message is called SharePoint : I don't know why they SharePoint : download SharePoint site usage data in Excel. And this is MC219622. So if you've been paying attention, Microsoft has been revamping analytics and usage data. We just talked about Teams. They've been doing it in SharePoint for a little while now as well. As announced previously, I can't remember exactly when, but it was MC217998. The classic usage and popularity reports are being removed. So by August 7th, you were to take action and go download all of your information that you want, because after that functionality is going to be gone. Well, with this update, we'll be able to download 90 days of site usage data to Excel to analyze. The 90 days will cover unique viewers, site visits, average time spent for the visit per user, etc., those types. However, popular content on the site will not be part. So, you can think about what are the popular content, like news posts and documents and pages. What are the I want to know which news posts people are going to most, that kind of question. It will not be kept for 90 days. You won't be able to download it, but you only get 7 days of that kind of usage data. So while we're able to download this, they're giving this the functionality to download those 90 days worth. That's fantastic. We still don't get the popular, content for that 90 days. So what you do is you go to the site usage, and there's going to be a kind of down arrow pointing looking thing in the top right corner when you go there, when it's rolled out to you, and you'll be able to download it there. And speaking of which, The rollout is early August, so it should be rolling out anytime soon. It's not in my targeted tenant right now yet, so it's not there yet, but it's supposed to be completed by the end of this month in August. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. Do you think there'll be little scripted jobs to bring those figures down frequently if those people want to have?
Yeah, I really do think that that's going to be, people are going to need more than just 7 days. They're going to need a month at least to kind of see where people are going. And I think site users or admins who are responsible for the content, asking them to, okay, every 7 days you're going to need to go download the content for those popular content reports. I don't think that's really reasonable, especially when you consider when you go download it, you're going to have to download it at the same time every week so that things don't overlay each other. If that makes sense, it can really skew your results. And so I think it's not reasonable to expect 7 days is adequate. So I think we're going to need, if Microsoft will not increase that, I think we will need to find ways to script that out.
We're a smart community. I'm sure that there'll be a number of people to figure it out, and some third-party vendor or two that will come up with some alternatives.
Absolutely. So, Darrell, do you want to talk about some updates to Microsoft 365 apps?
Yeah, I do. This is something, I know, it's such enthusiasm. This might be one that you'd glance past in your message center because, updates, okay, they're coming. And I enjoy seeing some people on social media that will pick up on some of these things and go, oh, wow, we're going to have this, we're going to have that. So we at the show, the 365 Message Center show, do want to go in and have a bit of a deeper dive into updates for Microsoft 365. Now, these are the applications on your desktop, on your mobile, and etc. But it's this magical little thing down here called the current channel. I'm going to have to switch again to our view.
So for those that are listening to the podcast, there's a link at the bottom of this message, which, did you tell what message this was?
Oh, look, you're right. Okay, let's go back. MC219570. Got to be consistent, right, Daniel?
Thank you very much. There's a link at the bottom that gets you to the post on docs.microsoft that gives you the information. Okay, Darrell.
All right. So these are always well maintained. You can see what build number, what the date was that it was released, and then going into each of the applications, what has updated. I really haven't checked this often enough because I didn't realize it also captures some of the changes to the Teams client too. But just some highlights in here, and I'm not doing it in any particular order, just that Outlook polls, quick polls are coming. We've been able to signal a yes and a no kind of decision, but this is going to be powered by Microsoft Forms. It's a little tucked away underneath when you're trying to create a poll, so it's that traditional classic button of voting, but there'll be a poll option under there and take advantage of that. Simple poll, but as one teacher I think was pointing this out, that you can grab the it's going to Forms, so you can grab the results from the Excel spreadsheet that you can get. We've got quickly reopen items from previous session. This is one that I would find quite useful. Sometimes when you're shutting your machine down quickly, or if Outlook crashes, then you come back up and it's like, okay, well, what was I doing again? Was I working on an email? Was I trying to create a meeting and schedule that? So this is going to bring it back up, and it is an option, a startup option, that once it's available in Outlook, it'll be on by default. You have Excel filter and sort without disrupting others. Right. Excel was one of the slower applications to enable co-authoring. There was some real tricky ways of trying to get that to happen, because you wanted to be able to isolate down to the cell and not just lock off whole portions or whole sheets. But one thing that had been plaguing some co-authoring people within Excel was if you changed your view and you changed your filtering, then it was actually changed for everybody. But now you'll be able to have your own view of that. You can play around with the filter, determine and interpret their statistics, etc., and not interrupt.
Well, which is going to be interesting because when you save an Excel file, it saves that information, filtering and sorting. So especially filtering, who wins when that file is ultimately saved, when it gets closed by everyone and then I guess it's the last person, whatever they had it filtered by. It maybe will be the one that everyone sees when they open it again. So it may be different. You're co-authoring with someone and they're changing the filter, but it doesn't impact you. But when you close it and then reopen it when they're done, it'll be filtered for you.
Well, to go further layer down there, if you do visit that page, there is a link through to how sheet views will work within Excel, and maybe it's taken some cues from SharePoint lists, and that you can have personal views versus something. Who knows? Lastly, a couple from Teams, just to point out that we've got simplified notification settings. The one I wanted to point out was turn off previews for chat notifications. So if a banner pops up and you've got part of a message there, maybe you want to, just as a privacy action, that maybe you only want to know, hey, it's Daniel that's trying to get hold of me, but I don't want people to see on my screen what that message is until I enter it. And lastly, suggested replies, you'll start seeing them come, particularly on the mobile, and just that's great, hey, have a good Saturday or whatever. You can have little quick replies to that. So that was quick roundup of some highlights from that. Next message, what's your one, Daniel?
Yeah, so my next message, we're staying in Teams.
Yep.
This is speaker attribution in live captions. So this is MC219651. So this is with a new Teams experience, and there's been plenty of posts and people talking about how to do this, but you can enable it in the client. You have to enable it in your client to get this before it moves into the mainstream client. But Teams already has live captions, but soon you'll be able to actually see who said what inside those captions. So bring that up in a tab. I think this is really a great improvement, because if you think about captions, they're great to be able to see what has been said, and especially for different languages, if that's you're listening to someone who doesn't speak the same language, but people talk over each other or right after someone. So the live captions could get kind of harder to understand. Let's put it that way. So this will help, because you can see who said what. Teams is not only doing captions, but it said, okay, this person said this, and so it's going to use your display name and put it before it. Of course, if you're joining via a room device, remember, it will attribute the speech to the room, not the individuals in that room. So if you're in a conference room and you have a Teams device that you've joined with, it's not going to work for particular people. It'll still attribute it to the room that someone said it in that room. So roll out mid-August starting, and completed by the end of August. So this is one that they're planning on rolling out pretty quickly and not having to take too much time doing across the tenants. It does not talk about government. Again, I wanted to point that out. This is a very short post, so we have no idea whether this is worldwide or they call it worldwide, but then they always give you a parentheses of what worldwide means.
Except for.
So maybe global is the way to do it. I don't know. That's a term I'll use. I don't know if it's global or if it's just standard tenants. So we just don't know that. I think the roadmap item has a little bit of information, but I don't think it tells. Normally, a lot of times in the roadmap item, it'll show, and it just says worldwide standard multi-tenant. So that doesn't. So I don't think it includes government. But it stinks that we had to go to the roadmap to find that.
Yeah, well, consistency again, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, our next one is something that surely we saw coming. Surely, we all knew it. The service reminder for Skype for Business Online is retiring in 12 months. MC 219641. We have a date, people. We have a date. It is the 31st of July 2021. So just to keep it out there, that if you are still using Skype for Business Online, then aim at that date in terms of transitioning people to Microsoft Teams.
Stop is what you were supposed to say. If you're still using Skype for Business Online, stop.
Yes. Or quite frankly, you won't be able to. It won't be there. You cannot use it. It's not going to affect Skype for Business on-prem. Okay, of course, those are your servers. They're under your control. It's just the online capability. And if you're going to keep those servers for some particular reason and you're going to run a hybrid environment, there's ways of getting that to work with Teams and the like. But yeah, plan to be off Skype for Business Online by 31st of July 2021. I'm sure we'll see some reminder dates as we get closer to that.
Yes.
And this message is filled with links about how to transition yourself across and where to get that information. Good to see.
Yeah, because there's some free information there, trainings. Also, Fast Track is one that you could utilize to help you with that migration of getting the Teams client on people's desktops and getting them switched over. So they're making it kind of easy. Yes, there's still going to be some rub, right, Darrell, with people learning the experience, because you're going from a chat and meetings application to a chat and meetings and files and apps, and there's and so there's a lot more than just I want to have a chat, a one-on-one chat or a meeting, right?
Yeah, and I would also caution any organization that just because there is a like-for-like capability, you can shift from Skype to Teams and you can have chat, you can have presence, you can have contact management, meetings. Doing this for customers and for ourselves. Don't underestimate the differences in the experience, and do smooth that over with some good change management, some good promotion of this is what you're shifting to.
Well, and testing and working with users, get a pilot group. I mean, this is not one of the, if you just switch this over, if you just say, okay, you're using Teams, everyone, now, this weekend we did it, you're going to have a lot to deal with. Now, will it work? Well, maybe, but will you have a job? I don't know. So yeah, definitely do some testing, working with your users, figuring out how they use it and utilize it, and help do training, run that adoption program with all that in mind. If
I add one to finish off on that, the one that really we've seen catch organizations out is the external contacts. If you're using Federation and you have people that you're in contact with, and maybe you offer them service using Skype for Business, you will need to add your external contacts back in. They do not migrate across, so keep that in mind. What's our last message? There it is. Introducing.
Yes, our last message is introducing the organizer-only Teams meeting lobby policy options. A lot of words in this one.
It's about second place on that one, yeah.
Yes, MC 219629. So if you've been utilizing Teams for meetings for a while, you've probably played around with the meeting options. So once you set up a meeting, you go back into meeting options and say, who can join directly in the meeting or who has to stay in the lobby. And one of those options is the organizer. You can say only me, if I'm the organizer, can join the meeting and everyone else has to stay in the lobby. However, that cannot be the default for your organization. Meaning, if I want that, I have to edit every one of my meetings and change that setting. So this is really just bringing that setting in to the Teams Admin Center and able to change that in the meeting policy to say organizer only is the only person who can bypass the lobby. Lobby is you join a Teams meeting and you're waiting. You can't talk to anybody. You can't message. You're sitting there waiting for the meeting to start. So that's what this is all about. So this is rolling out end of August and should be completed the rollout early September. So again, this is going to be a quick one to be able to roll this out to tenants. You're going to ask me, is government included?
Is government included?
Well, Darrell, that's a very good question. I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm glad you told me I was going to ask you.
So the people included in this worldwide standard, which is pretty much non-government, non-educated, plus education. Ooh, they threw it in. Plus GCC. So most of government. Now GCC high, I don't know if that's included. I don't think so. Normally they call that out. Those other types of secure tenants, I'm not sure either. We don't have that information. But at least, those government tenants are getting it in education.
I actually like using this way of getting into a meeting and being the organizer and setting up the presentation and making sure that everything's good before letting people in. I do like that as a default, particularly
as long as you're early.
Oh, yeah. But more so for when you're hosting meetings where you've got something that you need to announce or you're introducing external people as they come in. So, yeah, good to see that option. Wow, that's us for the week. Was there anything? We've discussed our TikTokness. Was there anything else that we observed in the world of Microsoft 365?
I haven't. I mean, I think there's been some updates. I did a blog post this weekend about some updates that have come in, since we talked about them on the show, some new things that we didn't get to talk about on the show. So check that out. But other than that, I haven't seen too much. I don't think anything's come to mind.
Well, we look to our chat room and to the community. Mm-hmm. We've got plenty of eyes that are out there checking things out and observing. Often these things will land and appear, and people will tell us before we see a message. So do keep each other up to date. Thank you for everyone who's joined the chat this morning. A quick roll call there from the bottom up. There's Andrew McCallum, Phil Worrell, I think I saw Suzanne Hunt, Mary Hill, Hilda DePore. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great to have you all here. Mm-hmm. And thanks again to you who might be watching this as a recording. We'll catch you again next week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.